So a few months back, I gave away a turbo kit for an Evo 10 and all the Evo 8 and 9 people were upset. Well guys, today I'm giving away a turbo kit for an Evo 8, Evo 9 4G63. Now this is a little more than a turbo kit. I'm including a fuel system as well. So this is the exact setup that was on my Evo 8 before I went too far with the forward facing setup. So this is a perfect setup if you're trying to make around that 500 wheel horsepower mark. So we have a fuel system, it's a factory hanger with a Walbro 450, a set of FIC injectors, and now for the turbo setup itself, this is a freaking killer combo. It's a dual ball bearing AGT 55mm turbo, JMF manifold, MAP O2 housing with the open dump. I did convert the return line over to a 10AN, so I am also including a converted 10AN oil pan as well, also including the ETS intake, ETS lowered intercooler pipe, and the matching downpipe that goes with this kit. You could slap all this on a factory engine and make easily 450 horsepower to the tires. One of you guys is gonna have an absolutely killer setup for your Evo here in a few days. If you wanna get entered in on winning this kit, head to the website. Every $3 you spend is one entry to take home the kit. I'll be shipping it right to your door, completely free. A few days ago, we had an unfortunate event happen with my wife's Evo 10. And today, hopefully, we are going to resolve the issue. Here is a brief explanation of what had happened and transpired a few days ago. Went ahead and put a new ECU on the car. Went with an EMU black from ECU Master. Went out, started tuning the car. We got all of the drivability stuff dialed in. Car was running fantastic. Did our first tip in, just a light pull. Immediately hit 45 pounds of boost. Bam, ripper. Should not be hitting 45 pounds of boost. On pump gas, not even close. Should be about half of that. Let off and heard the tremendous, beautiful noise of knock. So either something in the cylinder head let go, or we have a bearing failure from detonation from tons of boost on pump gas with a high compression engine. Now I am hoping the issue is what would be a Myvec exhaust cam gear issue. So it is fairly common with 4B11s, with Evo 10s, with big camshafts and stiffer valve springs to break the Myvec gear. Now every time I've heard one break or crack, it'll constantly make noise, not just at like 3,000 or 4,000 RPM. So that makes me think it's rod knock, but there's two things that make me think it's not rod knock. Number one, the filter cut was clean. There was no copper shavings in the filter. Number two, the sound that it's making sounds more cylinder head related versus bottom end. So today, we're gonna go ahead and pull off the valve cover again, pull off the cam gear this time, and verify that the cam gear is either cracked, then we'll replace it and fix it, or B, it's good, and we have a bottom end issue. You can see here the car hardly wants to start and stay running. We'll circle back to this later as to why this was happening. Let's go ahead and pop off this valve cover. So the first thing we need to do is remove the upper intercooler pipe, pull off the coil packs. There's about 16 bolts for the valve cover, rip those things off, and the valve cover will be removed. So we got the valve cover off. This guy right here is made out of cast aluminum. They now make this out of billet. So if that guy is indeed the culprit, it's gonna be a very cheap fix, a very easy fix, and I'll be happy. So using this tool, we are gonna go ahead and release tension on the timing chain without pulling a timing cover, and we're gonna pull out the exhaust cam off of the cylinder head so we can get the gear off. This is basically a wedge bar, so what you're gonna do is insert this in between the timing chain guides while also having a flathead in the timing chain tensioner. You separate the tensioner teeth so the pin will retract, and you push the wedge bar down and bolt it to the head, thus holding the tensioner retracted. There is no way to get the cam gear off without removing either A, the timing cover, or B, the camshaft. Camshaft being easier to remove, we will go that route. So we have the camshaft out of the engine. Now we're gonna pull the cam gear off, and we need to go ahead and disassemble the cam gear to see if it's cracked internally. Certainly not what I was hoping to find. Cam gear is completely fine. I'm gonna go ahead and pop out the intake cam just to see if I see anything funny with the cylinder head, but it's looking like it's going to be bottom end related. It could also be a piston skirt. I didn't mention that earlier, but it just sounds cylinder head related. I verified what I could verify in the cylinder head. Everything with the valve train appears fine. All the cam gear stuff appears fine. Everything time component related is good. Nothing weird with the buckets. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the oil pan. Even if there is nothing wrong with the bottom end, this oil pan was leaking, so it's not the worst move in the world to go ahead and remove it anyway. You'll see here in a minute, it was well worth it. I see bearing in the oil, but I'm curious how bad it actually is. We now have the oil pan off. Right here are the rod caps. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the oil pump. Number one, verify everything in the pump is fine. Pretty sure it is, but I'm gonna pull off all of the rod caps and check out the condition of the rod bearings. Pulling off the rod caps is very simple. Even if nothing is wrong, it's not a waste of time whatsoever. It gives me peace of mind. Remember, you have to keep the caps with the corresponding rods. Say if we pull off cap 1, it has to go back on to rod number 1, otherwise it's gonna bind up as they are honed together. So make sure 1 goes to 1, 2 goes to 2, so on and so forth. Bearing number 1, cap side, gone. So it didn't spin. Here's what I'm looking at. See if you guys can see it. There's like a lot of pitting on it. I'll be honest, I've never seen a bearing that looks like that. Here is the plan. We're gonna go ahead and slide it a brand new set of rod bearings, get the motor back together, fire it up, go drive it. I am very, very happy I stopped driving it when I did. If I kept driving it with that bearing in that condition, it would have eventually damaged the crankshaft. Thankfully, as of right now, the crankshaft is perfect. And there's no other damage that we can see on the engine. So new set of bearings, it is. And this time, we'll be a little more safe with our boost. All right, so we're doing all new rod bearings, not just on cylinder number 1. So here's cylinder 3. That's how that bearing looks. Pretty much perfect. Nonetheless, we're putting all new bearings in. So what we're gonna do, set it on the crank like this, and then roll it in to the rod, like so. Rod bearing on the rod side is in. Now we take a rod cap. Of course, as always, bearing tang to bearing tang. Thread in the bolts, torque them down, and reassemble the entire engine and go on a rip. Everything underneath is now complete, all torqued down. Let's move to the top end. Even though we know the factory Mavic housing did not crack, I had already ordered a billet housing from Torque Solutions. So we're gonna go ahead and install this in the car. This is preventative maintenance, you could call it. That probably will crack eventually. This one won't. The internals of the Mavic are a little bit complicated. I'll go ahead and toss on a photo onto the screen so you guys can see exactly how all of this goes back together, because if you get it wrong, she ain't gonna work. Went ahead and torqued down the gear to 65 foot-pounds. Now the camshaft is ready to go back in. Of course, making sure we get it timed right. As soon as we do, the valve cover can go back on and we move to the bottom. As always, the worst part is cleaning off old gasket. So we got all that cleaned off. Oil pan goes back on and this thing is ready to run. I'm anxious, man. Very, very anxious about this car. Either it's gonna knock or it's not gonna knock. I'm not gonna say anything. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead, lower the car down, turn it over as is, no oil, just for a split second, make sure everything sounds fine. And then we're gonna go ahead and add oil if everything does sound fine. Crank it again, make sure it builds oil pressure. If everything checks out great, put plugs in it, coils in it, fire it, see what happens. That's the plan.
Even though bearing number 1 had some damage, I'm anxious because I know that wasn't enough to make any sort of noise. Yeah, I was hurt. Yeah, it did need to be replaced, but there was not nearly enough damage on there for this thing to be making noise. Not to mention, I'm confident the noise is coming from the top end, but let's see what happens.
So past step number 1. Sounds great with no plugs.
Now we add oil and build oil pressure. Bam, got pressure. Time for plugs, time to fire it.
Step number 2, passed. Now, plugs, coils, start. I'm calling it a 50-50, man. My only concern is
here she is again, not wanting to stay running.
You guys heard it. I don't need to say it. Seems like we have a much bigger issue. Obviously that bearing was hurt. My thought earlier as to why I said I was 50-50 is it didn't seem hurt enough to make that much noise. So I don't really know what the problem is. It's also impossible to diagnose when I can't rev the motor and listen at the same time. I'm gonna need someone to come help. That's for sure. It's not a very good day when this thing comes out to play. This is a bore scope. We are gonna scope the cylinders. I should have done this a while ago. This is going to verify if the issue is, of course, piston related, maybe a sleeve issue. I guess we'll see.
Unfortunately, this isn't an osculating bore scope, so it's kind of worthless. All we can really see is the top of the pistons. We can't turn it and see the walls or the head at all.
This engine has been together and apart like 3 times, and now it is back apart. Camshafts are out, just to verify everything once again with the buckets, with the valve springs, the retainers, the keepers. Everything looks fine. I am going to just pull the head, which is not fun. In my opinion, at this point, it's got to be done. I can't dive any deeper and diagnose any further. So we need to pull the intake manifold. The whole turbo kit's got to come off. And then the timing cover, which means the oil pan comes back off. As soon as all that stuff is off, we can pull the head and see what the heck is going on. This is ridiculous.
Usually I would just pull the entire engine, but I have so many cars torn apart in the shop right now, I don't really have space to pull another motor. So I got the intake manifold off, turbo off, drained our brand new engine oil, pulled off the pan and the timing cover, and now the head is ready to come off. The second I pulled the head, I saw something funny.
We finally have the answers that we were after. Here you can see the cylinder head is removed. You see that ring there, those rings there. Those shouldn't be there. Now if we go take a look at the cylinder head, you see the edges of the intake valves, they're also shiny. They shouldn't be shiny. So what happened was when this car saw 45 pounds, the pistons came up faster than the valves could close. Pistons and valves collided. It slightly bent 3 valves. And now with the valves bent, the car of course doesn't run nearly as good as it should because they're not sealing all the way, and they are making slight contact with the pistons, causing it to make the noise that you guys have heard. Thankfully, the bottom end of the engine's fine. I'm gonna drop the head off. It's gonna be completely gone through. Most likely just do all new valves, new springs, new retainers, new keepers. The cams should be fine, but all new valve train should fix this issue. Now, of course, it is a little bit frustrating. If we had a boost cut on the car, of course, this issue wouldn't have happened. Now, as to why it did hit 45 pounds of boost, it's because of a 10-cent plug. This is more ridiculous. And this is completely, of course, my fault. I built the car. I missed this plug somehow. I think it backed out. So if we take a look at this wastegate here, we have the nipple on this side, and then this side is plugged off right there. You see? You don't need plugs on the top, just the bottom. I went ahead and felt on this wastegate, and right here, there should be a plug. That plug, either A, I forgot it, or B, I didn't put it tight enough, and it backed out, which means that wastegate never opened, and that's the reason this motor saw a bunch of boost. So 2 things. Number 1, we need a boost cut. Number 2, I gotta put a plug in there so we actually have boost control. Now, of course, it could be worse. It could be a whole lot better. It sucks I had to pull the head. Pulling the head in the chassis on Evo 10 is not fun whatsoever, but of course it had to be done. Lesson learned, we'll get her fixed. We'll get her back on the road, hopefully here in the next few days.